Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to continue with the Phoenix model painting, but because we're using black primer with my airbrush, we're also going to go ahead and get in on the washer itself. We're going to paint that black. I'll make sure to annotate that when we get to that point. So I've added the black primer to my airbrush. That's what it looks. This is what I bought. Just regular surface primer I bought on Amazon. And then I have the airbrush on. I'm gonna try here because, as you can see, I green stuffed some of the cracks and everything to make it look a little bit better. I'm not gonna try to prime the whole thing. I'm just gonna try to get the parts that I green stuffed, but we'll probably end up repainting the whole thing black. Just depends on how this is going to turn out. This paint actually has pretty good coverage for a primer. Do it all. I want to make sure that I'm going to get an even coat on the whole bird. So I'm just going to go ahead and do black all over everything. Probably except this part where I'm touching right here, so I can make sure I get the colors mixed correctly again. Which means we're going over the hands, but like I said before, my video of the hands, they're not that hard to paint even when they're on. I'll go over once this dries how we're going to paint those. Stuff right there if you guys missed it already. And don't forget, when you're doing the black, you want to go against the feathers because we're trying to get the black up in the crevices. So that's why I don't know if you can tell. He's pretty much upside down the entire time I'm painting the black, and I'm wanting to get up in those crevices because then when we paint the red, we'll go with the feathers, and the black will sit in there and give you a decent shade at least. If you don't want to try your hand at completely shading the bird, it'll still give it a nice look. I'm going to go ahead and black all of this stuff over here. And that looks pretty darn good. He's black again. Black in these hands just for posterity's sake. And black in the hands. Alright, and like I said, we're going to paint the inside of the washer. Now don't forget, this here is the outside for the front, and so which means this is the inside. And I had said, it's up to you completely, but I am going to paint this because when it comes together, I kind of want it to have a dark shadowy look. And then this is the inside, so this is the back with the little notch, the inside of his back. So we're just going to go ahead and prime that. And try to miss the, this way you don't have to repaint it completely, the lantern that he's holding on to. And that seems to be, let's see if I can get a little more over there. No, actually, I guess I don't need to. Try to look at the light. There we go. And that we're going to go ahead and let dry. And now I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera really fast, and we are going to go over the intestines for the bird, finish off the mouth and everything, and the sides of the head. So we'll be right back, and we'll probably go ahead and do the hands, and depending on how fast this bird wants to dry, we may end up going back over and doing the outer fingers, these ones out here, and then working our way back into the regular hands that he has, you know, all strewn out throughout his feathers. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so like I said, we're going to try working on the hands and the face and the lower beak and apparently his mustache. Looking at the pictures again, this is in fact not intestines, even though that's what it looks like. It's supposed to be coming out of his nose, and it is a long mustache. Apparently that's an old man face that's sitting in there, and he's got a long mustache that's blowing behind him. So I think I may end up, I'm going to glue that together. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the mustache and we're going to super glue it together. I tried using some green stuff on it and it's just too tiny. It doesn't want to stay. So I will put some green stuff on it afterwards. We're going to go just like so. Just like so. There we go. We're going to go ahead and let that sit a little bit. I'm going to put that right there. Alright, so his pallid-ish gray color that shows on the image, and I'm trying to do a two-camera setup just so you all can see what I'm doing on the other side of the pieces. So we're going to set that right there. So I am probably going to use, that is silver. I have some army painter out here, sort of. I just have a big giant box of army painter. Okay, so I have uniform gray, which is going to be our dark base. Wolf gray, which is going to be our highlights. Because on the picture, he looks kind of bluish gray color. And then I may end up mixing some with white and black just to make my own gray. So right now I have uniform gray, army painter uniform gray, wolf gray, and I know I'm going to end up using it. I have Longbeard gray dry shade from Citadel, and then to make my own gray I'm going to use the matte white and matte black mixture. So right now we're going to use a base coat of the uniform gray. I think that'll look like a good base. We're just going to put some on our palette here. You can't see my palette. There you go. Oh. Sometimes you got to shake these up, otherwise the paint doesn't sit properly. There we go. And I am actually, because I want to be able to hold it. So that is one of my setups for holding pieces. Let me move that back, I guess. Let me tilt you up. There you go. It's just a pill bottle with some sticky tack on the top. And what I'm doing is I'm basically placing, I'm going to have to redo it. So we're not going to paint this inside here, obviously, because it's going to go into the model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going, so I can get all around without getting my fingers completely, I'm just going to push it right in there, probably on the edge, so this way I can still get most of the arm painted, and I did the same with this one here as well. I'm actually going to have to go and do it at an angle, and that's going to stay. So we're going to go ahead and normally I would add some water to this mixture, but because I didn't shake it, it's pretty well wet. So what we're going to do is just going to go ahead and try to give this a nice coat. The black that I had used originally was more of a gloss, so this doesn't really want to sit so well. So I'm going to probably have to go over this twice, which to me isn't a problem. I mean, it is what it is. I could have, I guess I could have reprimed this with the white. Maybe I will have to, depending on how this is going to turn out in terms of the paint sitting on here, because it does not look like it wants to sit. And we're not trying for, you know, to hide the brush strokes on this, because this is our first base coat. We're going to just go over it again with another base coat of the uniform gray. So that's going to sit like that and dry, or try to dry, while we're doing this other hand. And try to get a light coat on. You don't want too thick, because obviously, you know, you're gonna, if you do a too thick coat, we're gonna lose a lot of the crevices, where we're gonna be able to do some highlighting and shading. And I'm mad that I used that black before, but that is a lesson to be learned, that my airbrush black, not that primer black that we just used to prime, is not a primer, is more of a, very much so, a glossy black. And I don't think that this is going to work so well. I'm going to try shaking this up again and seeing if I can't get a better coat. I'm going to add some of the matte black to the gray mixture. Just a dab. Yeah, we'll just do one dab and see how that looks, because that'll darken it right up real fast. I'm going to kind of, let's see, I'm going to tilt my palette so you can kind of see the colors. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, but this is the black, or this is the gray mixture that we just made, and that's the gray that we were using. I'm going to just go over it even though it's still wet, just to see. Okay, perfect. Because what's going to happen is you're going to rub off some of that excess gray anyhow. I knew that was going to happen. I'm going to grab it by the nail, because we don't really want the nails to be gray. We're going to paint those a different color. But in order to get it to dry, we're going to have to shove it back down in there, because otherwise it will not dry. And that's one. And let's see what, wipe the mesh off. What happened was that first mixture of uniform gray was very watery. Sorry, folks, keep trying to take it away from me. It was very watery, so it wasn't really covering. So with the black mixture, we got more of a coverage, and we're getting in there now. It's pretty much coming through. But we're still going to go ahead and do 2 coats, just because this. Well, you could probably end up doing 1 coat after you have primed it with black. I unfortunately will have to do 2 coats, because I used the wrong primer the first time. I used paint instead, which was a high gloss. But that's that one. I'm just going to sit that right next to the pill bottle, because what we're going to do now is we're going to do the beard, which is also going to be the same color gray as the mustache, which is now mostly dry in terms of that. So I am going to use the same gray that we're using for the hands. So this way we can get nice dark gray shadows in here, because we don't really, we'll go over it with a black later to make it a little bit darker, but I want to have at least some dark gray shadows in this beard as well to kind of give it that, you know, the gray appearance that it should have. Let's see. Make sure you're getting in those cracks and crevices, and you're not going to go over onto the beak itself, because you know that's already painted. And if you do, that's fine. We're just going to have to remix that color, which you know shouldn't be a problem. You just think you have to go back to that video and figure out what our mixture was. And so those are going to be our shadows. Alright, so that's that. I'll go ahead and rinse off my brush. I wish I had another gray, but I do not. Oh, yeah, that apparently does not want to stay. So those are all shiny. Yeah, I do have another gray. Alright, so I have ash gray. We're going to use that as the highlights. I'm going to put that right here. And that's a very, very light gray. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a smaller brush. We're just going to get a little bit on the brush. And we're going to try to get as much paint off as we can. I noticed that I did not get in some of these cracks right here, so I'm going over it real fast. Just because I don't want any white in the dark recesses where it's supposed to be dark. Alright, so actually we're going to let this dry before we decide to put on the ash gray. Which means that we're going to have to move to here, which is obviously the rest of the face. Now, the rest of the face seems to be the same-ish color with a little more red tint with some white eyes. So we are going to grab Bugman Glow, and we're going to get a little bit of that on our palette. And we are also going to grab some, where is my red? That's red tone. I don't want red tone. We're going to get chaotic red. We're just going to add a drop of red to this. Oh, shake. Make sure you shake it up first. Alright, so and I'm not sure I really like that color. Let's add, I think that'll be good. Let's add some white to that. I kind of want to get that a little lighter. There we go. Not so dark. Yeah, there we go. It still retains its reddish hue, but it's a little bit lighter, like skin tone. So go ahead and hold it by the beak. And we're going to go ahead and just brush that in. Making sure not to get it on the beak, because otherwise we're going to have to go back and do that color all over again. Now the thing about this one, let's see. So we're going to go into here. So the thing about this this particular piece here, because we're painting it, means that we're also going to have to paint on the Phoenix body itself, because where this sits, you can see that it's still skin-ish color when he attaches right here, and you're not going to want to try to mix this color again. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add some more Bugman Glow. Bugman's Glow to this mixture that we already created. I'm going to add the red again, but this time I'm not going to add the white. And we're going to keep the neck a little bit darker. Make sure to move all the excess off your brush, because you don't want too much paint on there. And then we're going to go ahead and just make sure you can brush that in. And obviously his body underneath, we're going to have to get there as well. So go ahead and just do a decent job of getting all that. Because I know his arms are gray, so what we're going to do is we're probably going to end up meshing some gray into this, because his arms attach right here and right here. So we're probably going to gray up his skin. But right now what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I can get everything that I want painted with this. And you may be wondering, because we have not repainted the wings yet, like the reddish brown that unfortunately I had out before, which is fine because we use short controlled bursts with our airbrush, and we'll make sure that we don't get completely on there. Now, as you can see, what I've done is, I've gone over into the wings, which is fine. And then over on this side, we want to make sure we get up in there, and then get up in here, because there are some like pustule nodules, I guess I want to say. Because what we'll do is, after we airbrushed him, we're going to go back into these spots and go ahead and paint it the color of the wings, how they should be. But we want those like pustules to have a a skinish tone. So that's my feeling, anyways. You may have a different opinion. So see, I'm making sure that I'm covering all those nodules that he has, like skin tags, I guess they are. And I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and grab the face again, just to make sure to see how that looks. And I think that looks pretty decent in terms of blending the colors. go ahead and kind of go back over with everything that you have left on your brush to blend in the dark with the lighter on the front there. And actually, I am going to use, I'm going to move him out of the way. I'm going to rinse off my brush. And in terms of the way that he looks on the thing, I'm going to use some Recklin Flush Shade, just a little bit, because we're going to do something else here in a little bit. So I want to try to get some Recklin Flush Shade in where the eyes sit, pretty much just the eyes. Because we're going to go a whole different route. Actually, I'm going to just do the whole head, and that's fine. So that's that. And it's fine. I mean, obviously, I'm doing this while it's wet, and you're probably, if you're following along with me, wondering, oh man, I just made some white spots on my guy. I moved all the paint off. That is fine, because we are going to use a yellow to try to hue him up. And actually, we're going to go back over this. So what we're going to do is right around the neck area, I think, is where we're going to want to stop the fleshy color. And I'm going to use the wolf gray now, which is the bluish gray. Because remember, that's the color that we said we were going to paint the hands. And I'm going to get some on my brush, and then I'm going to wipe it off, because I want to try to dry brush right around the neck area, or right underneath the neck area, I should say. A little bit more. A little bit more. And you're probably looking at this being the same, man, this is really light. What am I doing? You know, this is the underside. He shouldn't have this much light underneath here. And I mean, that's true. But if you look at the picture, technically he's you know, he's attacking a guy with a lamp. But you are absolutely right. It is way too light of a color, even the bluish, to have underneath here. But we are going to do something to help. So, giving him that bluish hue, and we may end up having to go over those pustules again, which will be fine. Remember, try to get right underneath his neck, but what we're going to do is kind of lightly brush, giving it that appearance of, oh man, I'm turning not Japanese, I'm turning gray. Sorry, lame joke. You were supposed to laugh. So obviously, underneath here, I've kind of, there we go. Alright, so the nodules are going to have to go pink again, which is fine. We'll just get a smaller brush and go back over those. So right now, doop-a-doo. Alright, and then make sure kind of go, because there's up here, we want to go around it. I'm going to take that away just so I can see it real fast. Alright, so that's that. Now he's kind of got a gray body, grayish. I guess I'll turn it that way so you can kind of see. But obviously that's kind of a weird, weird color for him, because that's way too light. And you are absolutely right. So what we are going to do, we're going to use some Agrax Earthshade, right there, camera, which is a brown, but we're going to let this dry off for a second and find out how our hands are doing. Our hands are You know, they're getting there. They're drying out. And our brush, alright, so we're going to move to the beard while that dries out. I'll close that so I don't drop it. Now remember we had the ash gray out. We're going to use the smaller brush and get just a tad bit of the ash gray on that brush. And we're going to kind of wipe it down so where we barely have any. And we are going to just lightly rake it over the high points. And as you can see, it starts bringing out the detail. You don't want to push down too hard. I'm barely even touching the brush to the model. Go ahead and flip over, get some more. Get a little bit more on my brush there. And I mean, that's pretty bright, but we're going to kind of do the same thing that we're going to do with the body. Let's see. There we go. So we're going to get that in there just like that. I'm not happy. There we go. So giving him, you know, the highlights that he has on his beard in high gray. You can kind of see that there. The beard, let that dry, and we are going to take that same small brush again. We're going to use some Nuln Oil. We are going to, there we go. Alright, we're going to get a little bit of Nuln Oil, and we're going to brush into the cracks here. You want to make sure you don't get too much Nuln Oil like I just did, because you're going to end up having to try to brush it out, which isn't hard, but you know, if you don't have to do it, you probably a little bit better. Alright, so there we go. And there's his beard. Now we're going to let that sit. We're going to get back to the body. We're going to get our big brush again, because we're going to want to get all over. So we are going to go back with the Agrax Earthshade. We are going to get some Agrax on here, not too much, and we are going to cover up. And that gives it a brownish hue, which is kind of what we want. Because we're going to meld that with the Nuln Oil, I think, a little bit. Yeah, that is a perfect color. It is a perfect color, however, I did, let's see. I think we're going to have to get all, So I'm going back with the wolf gray because I noticed that there's some pieces over here that I missed before. I should have painted wolf gray. And then underneath the arms, he should have had wolf gray. And up over the shoulders again. And down here. So I apologize for that, folks. So you want to make sure you cover the whole thing that we did with the pink, well, the pinkish, I guess, color, with the wolf gray. You know, the dry brush anyways. But at least all of it. So this way, when you end up covering it with the Agrax, it looks uniform. There we go. So we're going to get that Agrax in there to uniform up the color. Just like that. And then when this dries, I'm actually going to use a little bit of Nuln oil, I think. So that's that. And now for his face. This is dry. So what I said before, we are going to use this desert yellow. It's like a puke yellow. You could probably use, I can't remember the Citadel color right off the bat. There's a Citadel color similar to this. But we're just going to get a dry brush going here with that color. And we're going to go over that outside eye. Eyes. Multiples. And if you're paying attention, this yellow that we're using, try not to get too much. This yellow that we're using almost looks like the beak color. There is, and if you remember, we used the Citadel color for the beak, which is the yellow that the name escapes me right now. We're going to go ahead and continue to dry brush over this whole thing. And don't forget, then we have to dry brush over the neck. And if you end up mixing this with the wolf gray down there, that's fine. Well, it's not that far down. Just kind of where the neck meets. It'll actually give it some blending. So I'll put that there. We'll put it in there and kind of brush around. We're going to go ahead and fix those shadows with some Nuln oil. Alright, we're going to go back to the face really fast, and we are going to use the bigger brush with some Nuln Oil. We're going to go ahead and Nuln Oil up the sides and the top and everything. And actually, we're going to also do the top of the beak, just because we want some shading up there as well. And you'll see bring out everything. I think I have too much on there. So, as you can see, we're bringing out shadows everywhere. Now, I'm going to grab him from his mouth. His real mouth, like, well, I don't know which one is his real mouth. So there's that. Getting all up in there. Making sure not to leave too much excess, because that'll just look bad. And then go back to the neck, because we're going to need to do that as well, because we don't want to have it looking odd. So we're going to go ahead and get that all straightened away. Now, if you want to, you can leave a little excess on the bottom, because obviously that's where, you know, more shading would occur, and a little less on top, because that's where the light technically will hit. And we're also going to get some Nuln Oil, add some water to it, so it's kind of real runny. And we're going to go over the Wolf Gray and the Agrax Earthshade. So, and let's go over these sides right here, what the nodules were. Sorry folks, it's kind of hard to hold them together. We'll hold them right. You need to see them in paint. So, making sure to get all those cracks and crevices. And you should be pretty well covering everything that was down there. So he should have a pretty decent coat of Nuln Oil and Agrax, and getting that nice shading in the cracks and everything right there. Now for this, the beak, you know, we got a decent shade. We got a decent shade going on at the top here, and apparently some of my paint wants to come off while I'm doing that, so that's cool. It just means I have to do some more. As you can see, it's chipping for some reason, and I'm okay with that. I will work that later. I'm going to want to use a tiny brush, so real small. This is a Vienna 18-0 brush, and I don't know if I can show you the size, but it's pretty tiny. We are going to get some Abaddon Black, or actually, you know what, we can even, Abaddon Black or Matte Black from Army Painter. It's up to you, whichever you have, just as long as it's just a flat black. We're going to get just a little bit, just a dabble, one dab will do you. Maybe more than one dab, because that dried out pretty fast. And we're going to find his nostrils, and we are going to paint those black, because that Nuln Oil really doesn't, I mean, it does a shade, but it doesn't hold it so well. It pretty much, you know, only darkens up the colors that we've got going on already. So we're going to go here and go ahead and color in that nostril with the dark black. And we are going to take some of that excess paint off And see these lines right here? We're going to go ahead and fill those in with black as well. Just very lightly. Because we want that extra bit of shade to come out in here. So that's going to go like that. And I'm going to get some more on the brush, but not too much. And then right above the eyelids, we're going to want to blacken that with black as well, because there's no light kind of getting up there, and it'll give it a nice shading aspect. So now what I need to do is I need to grab this mustard yellow that I have, or desert yellow, a few drops of that, a drop of black, mix that all together, a few more drops of the yellow, because remember that it kind of made a nice nasty mess up on top there for me with the Nuln Oil, removing some of my color. Normally that shouldn't happen, but my Nuln Oil I think is a little bit too old. I should probably stop using it, but I kind of want to just keep using it. So I'm going to go ahead and color back in those the area. And now I use the desert yellow this time, and black, matte black. As you can see, it kind of, it blended the color pretty well to what I had before. And what I'll do is I end up using Nuln Oil again on this. I'll go ahead and dab that right there, right over those white spots. Cover those in. And as you can see, it's pretty much the same color that we did last time. Sorry. And I kind of like that, though. I think I'm going to possibly leave that as it is, just to give it a tad bit more shading. And I'm going to go straight desert yellow, just a light straight desert yellow, and we're going to go on the top of the eyelids right here. So we're going to go like this. Do the top of the eyelids, and with that mixture that we just made, well, that I made of black, we're going to go ahead and kind of blend that in, but make sure it's kind of still lighter. So, and I'm going to do the front of the beak with some same effect. And what's going to happen is I'm going to go straight down the middle. And now I'm going to use the black and desert mix and blend the real highlighted parts in to the sides. And what you should have is a decent highlight with some shadows. Oh, sorry, that was the nose that we ended up doing. Putting the top of that bright mixture in. The eyes are over there. I'm sorry. We kind of blend the nose into the skin, and that looks pretty good. All right, we're going to go to the beard. We're going to go back. I'm going to go with the uniform gray again. Try to. We'll see what happens. We're going to get him pretty well situated. what's going to happen is, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, apparently just that uniform gray does not like the black that was on the hands. So I may end up repriming the hands. So this way we can go that route. Get all in there. And this is just going to get the same kind of treatment that the beard did. You know, this dark gray, the lighter ash gray for the highlights, Nuln oil to darken it up, and then actually we have one more step on the beard. I just needed to let the Nuln oil dry. Make sure when you're painting this, I keep forgetting to go against the grain, because what you're going to do is get it in those shadow those parts where we want the shadows. It's going against the grain, so it's easier to get down in the crevices going against grain. So that's that. Missing some here. If you miss some on the very bottom, I'm going to go ahead and say that's okay, because what's going to happen is that's going to be our lighter spots, because we're going to try to do a gradient going down into the to the very bottom, because obviously, you know, he's got his mouth or headpiece covering right here, so I'm going to add a little black to the uniform gray. Mix that in, and then right where it's going to attach, I'm just going to paint over that while everything else is still wet, and then kind of just lightly blend it down into the regular uniform gray, and make sure to get behind there. Most likely nobody's going to see that, but you'll know it's there, and if you're like me, you didn't paint it, you're going to get mad at yourself. So get in that hole, and kind of just blending down. So that's going to be our gray, whatchamacallit. So this looks pretty decently dry. So I am going to, we're going to let that dry. We're going to move to the hands. Hands are pretty well dry. We are going to go wolf gray, which I put, no clue, no, right here. Wolf gray again. Yeah, wolf gray again. It's too wet. So wolf gray is going to go on the back of the hands. Just regular wolf gray on the back of the hands. So we're doing only the back of the hands right now. So that's that one. And now we'll get the other one. Kind of want to just, I mean, it's a rough color anyways. And we're going to darken it up with some Nuln oil in a minute. But what's going to happen is I'm going to go that route. I did too much. That's the gray underneath is coming through. That's fine. More of a base coat anyways. Alright, so that's going to be like that. And now for the underside, we're going to add a little bit of black to the wolf gray that we had. Just a little bit. Which of course will just make it gray. There we go. Alright, so I'm happy with that. So it's going to be like a darker gray, darker blue-gray, and we're going to do the underside of the hand in the darker blue-gray. And whatever parts you didn't do to the arm, go ahead and make sure you cover those. And if you sit here and do kind of like this, where you're brushing, you're just kind of dusting the thing, you're going to end up blending it on the other side, blending with it. So it's kind of nice. So we're going to get some more. That's too dark. There we go. As you can see, you're giving him kind of a skin tone, like he's got his arms, and I can't remember how he's supposed to be, but I think I may have ended up doing this backwards. But I'm going to go lightly over the backs, just so it's not so completely blue. There's this, just lightly, so the blue is in the blue is the highlight, or the shadow. Alright, so we've got the hands pretty much the color that we want them. We're going to go back to the underside here, and with the big brush again that we have the gray on. We're going to head in. We are going to do the same thing, kind of just lightly brush the part that we darkened up. I realize that that kind of sounds backwards, but now we have the shadows where we want them. So we're going to just lightly bring out the gray. If you have a dry brush, perfect time to use it. I just like, I mean, I have this brush with me right now, so that's pretty much why I'm using it. But I am actually going to do, get in there, kind of going to rub that in. And push that down. Yeah. So that's right around the arms. And I'm going to take that out. Get the known oil again, just a little bit. Kind of it's going to be weird. It's going to be a dry brush of the known oil. Just right over what we just painted. And you're going to probably get some of the paint off of where you just painted, which is kind of what we're looking for. But if not, that's fine. You're going right back down in those recesses. And then so this is that arm there, but I need my knife to get in there. I don't have it. I got some extra green stuff in there. This is this arm. And I just do with the other one. There it is. So, last step we need to do for the arms, known oil them. Well, not the last step. We have one more step that we're going to need to do for the arms themselves. So, kind of because we're going to want to pinch the nail, because we haven't painted those yet. Those are still coming. So go ahead and dry brush, well, not dry brush, but known oil the tops. That's that one. Go ahead and grab this one. And It's there. So the nails, it looks to be like they are like a yellowy keratin kind of color. I'm going to use Zandri Dust and see how that looks on the nails themselves. I'm going to use one of my smaller brushes here. It's much smaller, obviously, than the one I've been using because I'm going to need more control. So that's perfect. Get back to my video, make sure you guys can see me. Okay, alright. So the Zandri Dust looks like it might be a little bit too dark. We'll see. Yeah, it looks like it's a little too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of white to the mix. One drop of white. Let's see how that looks for me. And yeah, I'm going to like that a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, this one here looks like it's a little more dry. I'm going to get the, whoop, way too much paint. I'm removing some paint off of my brush like I'm supposed to. And I am going to paint the nails. Now, I don't know if you've noticed before, but there is like the indentation in these, in this pieces, where, you know, the nail goes right into the finger itself. So what's going to happen is you're going to want to kind of get in there. It's kind of a like a notch, like, you know, if you look at your fingernail, you know, it's sitting, it's not completely straight with the finger. You know, you're going to have like a curved angle there. And I mean, that's, you want to make sure that you're getting right up in there kind of deal, which is fine if you don't do it, but it may look a little weird because it's not going to look so much like a fingernail at that point. And try to make sure not to get it on the gray that we did, because as much easy as it is to mix that color, you're just not going to want to have to deal with getting over on the extra parts there. That's pretty much it. And you're going to want to paint all the fingernails at the same time. This way they're uniform colors. Because sometimes I mean, even if you mix the same color at the same point in time, or, you know, later on, there's always that possibility that it's gonna not turn out the exact same. So you want to try to make sure that you have enough that you've made to cover everything that you're doing at that particular time. And if you can, just continue to add to that same mixture, making sure, because then you have the wet color there instead of the dry color to mix into, and that's a little bit easier to match than having a dry color to try to match into, because sometimes they will dry darker, and then after you do your mix, you're wondering why it doesn't look correctly. And then you darken it up, and then it darkens even more on the piece, and then you're really angry at yourself because you should have done it ahead of time. Let me make the mistakes for you so you don't have to. That's pretty much what that boils down to. And That's that one. That's that one. So that's that one, with the nails all painted. And then we'll move on to this one. We'll move on to the second one, and I should not be going into the pot. I should be right there. We'll get this nail. Get this one. This one. And this one. So that's there. After we do this, we're going to add one more color to it. Well, actually two more, depending on how you look at it. So the bottom pieces of the nail, we're going to add some black to the Xandri dust and give it the shade underneath. And then the top, we are going to add some bone. I think it's bone white, possibly, just to give it a little bit of different color here. So I don't really think I like the Xandri too, this mixture completely, but I have a feeling that if I do what I'm going to try to do, it'll look a little better to me. You can leave it how you want it, that's fine. If you think it looks good to you, you don't have to follow along the next steps, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some matte black to this Xandri dust. I am going to paint the bottoms. This darker color. Because this is where the shadows are. Obviously, it's not, it's not too light underneath his nails. And we'll get this one here. So that's there. I think it's a little too dark for me though. Let's see. I want to do this. I think I'm going to use this dark shade. Hardly any on your brush. And pretty much, wipe it off and kind of go over the tops, because some of these have the lines for shading. If you kind of just rub it in with your fingers, you're going to get a nice shade in there. And some of those crevices that, were created from the nails and everything. So, because if you rub your finger over it, what you're doing is you're pushing it down into the holes for the shading, and you're keeping that light on top, basically, and giving it that darker shade. So we're going to go to this one too, because I know this one has the lines. This one goes rub. And then this last one. Alright. So what's going to happen is I'm going to get some more Xandri dust, just a little bit. So I've now mixed everything with the black. And just get a little bit of sandry dust, not so much, because this down here is way too dark, I feel, and kind of just lightly dry brush the real dark that we did. I apologize, it just doesn't look right. That's if you follow along with that step anyways, and if you didn't, congratulations, you didn't end up screwing it up. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I should have a dry brush over here, but I probably don't. I do. I am going to use Eldar Flesh. No, I don't want Eldar Flesh. Tyrant Skull, dry brush. Be careful when opening it, because mine just went everywhere. We're going to get some on our dry brush. Go ahead and get the sides, the excess off. Go ahead and there we go. Now we're going to lightly dry brush on top of these nails. That one's finished. A little more. And those are finished. You see nails there. And now we are going to have it somewhere. We're going to use the same Tyrant Skull. Get some on your dry brush. I lied. No Tyrant Skull. Rinse that off. Sorry, no Tyrant Skull. We are going to get Eshin Gray, or Ethereum Blue. Sorry, Ethereum Blue. We're going to get just a little bit. I have Eshin Gray somewhere. I kind of want to use that, but I like the blue look. Very, very lightly. Get the beard. And kind of go over just a little bit of the beard with the gray. I kind of got in there a little bit too much. That's fine. And you can see, now you can see, gives it a nice toned look. We're going to do the same for the this mustache once we get to that point, because we haven't gotten there yet. We're going to grab our brush again, our big one. We are going to grab the ash gray. Just do a dab of that. And we are going to, right around where we started blending the darker gray, we're going to go down with that, down with the ash gray, kind of just lightly brushing it in. I should have said lightly, just kind of right over the top of everything. Well, I broke that. That's fine. So, right, kind of like we did over the beard, just so we're on the top of it. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to actually we're going to take a little bit of the wolf gray, just a little bit. And wolf gray is a bluish gray, people. You know, if you end up using, sure, that's too much. Okay. If you end up using different paints than Army Painter or Citadel, so we're going to do the very bottoms in this wolf gray. Kind of blend it in with the ash gray. Yep, so that's that. That's that. I don't get it. Nope. Alright, so we got that. So what's going to happen is there's that. You know, the wolf gray's down at the bottom, ash gray's in the middle, and then your uniform gray with your little uniform grays with a little bit of black mix is near the top. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to take the, alright folks, we're going to need the long beard gray, which is right here. We're going to use that blue that we had, the ethereal blue. Ethereal blue on the very bottom. Ethereum blue, sorry. Dry brush at the very bottom. Putting all the highlights. And as you can see, it ended up breaking, trying to use the, trying to keep it while you're painting. I mean, maybe it's better to have it not. Alright, and now we have long beard gray, which is a very light gray. And we're going to go ahead and blend in the middle with highlighted long beard gray. Same thing on this side. You don't want to go too high with it because remember we're keeping that high pretty dark. And now we're going to grab some Nuln Oil. And right at the top. Works the Nuln Oil all the way down. And remember, go back, go against the grain. So this way it gets in the crevices. Making sure that I get every side, because if not, it will look weird if there's another part that doesn't have any Nuln Oil shading in it. That's that one. Grab this one. Remember, against the grain, so it gets in the cracks and crevices. Because if you go the other way, it's just going to really just sit on top of the rest of the paint. And I mean, as much as we want it to kind of do that, we want to make sure that it gets in the cracks and crevices for the shadows. That's the main point of doing this, is giving it the shadow that it deserves. And that is the beard. Well, mustache, I guess. There you go. You can kind of see how it looks. So that's that. That's that. I'm going to Nuln Oil his face. It is way too light for me. Alright, while the Nolan oil is on the outside of the face setting, we are going to grab some, his eyes are, underneath his eyes are let's see, we're going to use the desert yellow again, because right underneath his eyes in the picture are a brighter yellow. So we're going to grab the desert yellow, which is that like pukish yellow color, and we're going to just get right underneath his eyes. Make sure to do it on both sides. Alright, that's that. And for the top of the eyes, what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of the, let's go with Bugman's Glow and a little bit of white to lighten up just the top of the eyelids as well, because they are backwards for some reason. It's not supposed to be that way, it's supposed to be the other way around. It's way too light. There we go. Still pretty light, but we can deal with that. And we're going to go to the top of the eyelid. With the white Bugman's Glow. And I'm actually going to do the same for the inside. The inside eyeballs there. We do the top and bottom. Just because the way I have them shaded, it makes it look better. It makes his eyes kind of pop. And now we're going to need a tiny brush. So I have this one right here. And go ahead and put some water on that to form it up. We're going to need some white. We're going to mix the white with the ash gray. I still have some of my palette here, so I don't think I'll need any extra, but it's possible that I will. So it's not a pure white, and it's not a very dark gray either. It's right in between, and we are going to hit these eyes up now. We're going to get the inside eyes first. And then we're going to do the outside eyes. Alright, now we're going to do the outside eyes. And according to the picture, it's the entire eyeball, so you don't have to worry about trying to do a pupil. You just have to get in between where we painted before with the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid, which is kind of nice, because you don't have to try to create pupils for this guy. You just have to make sure to get that kind of weird white color for his eyeball, which actually wasn't too difficult. That light gray. It's probably about 1 part ash, 2 parts white.
That one's going to be fixed up with the bottom. And I mean, you could, if you're watching this video through and then deciding to do this, you could technically do the eyeball first, because if you mess up, you just cover it with, sometimes you can do eyeballs if you're having trouble with the long brush strokes. You can do up and down, and you can go over, well, not that much over. I'll fix that. You can go up and down, and so you can go over the eyelids, top and bottom, and then when you go back through, you're painting the eyelid colors, and you're going to go over that white anyways. So it is what it is. Depends on your technique, what you feel comfortable doing. Because I'm not going to tell you have to do one or the other. It's just all about your comfort level. There's that. And now I need to do just a little bit of touch up with this color here. Fixing the bottom, eye piece. Name eludes me right now. Eyelid. That's that. And I kind of closed that eye a little bit too much, so I'm going to have to go back in there with some white. There we go, that's perfect. And that's that for the eyeballs. Now I have to fix that part there. Where's my Bugman? I use my Bugman's glow. Get right there. Kind of brush that in. I have some of this over here. I'll go like this. And you can't even tell that I messed up. Put that white up there. I need to fix this eye. Alright, so now that we have the eyes pretty well painted, you can kind of see them there. There we go. I don't know if it's wanting to focus. Want to focus. I apologize. My autofocus does not want to autofocus. There we go. You can see the eyes there.
Grab
and
some
on this
hard coat.
side, and just a little bit of water. We don't want to use too much. Alright, so that's that. Go back with that small brush, and we're going to cover the eyes. And don't forget to get the eyes that were on the inside of the face. And that's what it looked like with the hard coat added. You can kind of see right there. Gives it like more of an eyeball-y look. So that's that. I think we pretty well covered everything from the hands. Did we know more of these? We did not, but that's fine. I like the way they look. We know all the hands. We finished the beard. We did his body. We did his neck. We did the face. The only other piece that we didn't do was the bottom jaw, which we did the beard for. I take it back. We did do the bottom jaw. Last thing, I guess, we'll do, and then we'll call it good. We are going to get chaotic red, which is army painter color, not dragon. I might have to use dragon red because I cannot find my chaotic red, which this is really bright. Oh, so chaotic red is a darker red. We're going to go ahead and use some of that. Use a smaller brush. Medium size, I guess. Depends on how you look at medium size. So we still have a tongue to do. We're going to grab some of this paint here, some of the chaotic red, which is a very dark red, and we're going to paint the tongue. And we're also going to paint the bottom of the mouth. All the way up into the whatchamacallit, that front beak part, because we want to keep that, like where it kind of hooks around, we want to keep that looking beak-ish yellow, not red. Alright, and so there's the tongue. I'm having trouble getting the color to stay, but that's fine, because what's going to happen, we're going to end up doing this something kind of different. I want to get that color painted in there. So you can see the tongue, the inside of the mouth is painted. And we're going to clean the brush off, and we are going to grab the very bright red, the dragon red, which is a bright one. We're going to just do it, shake it up. Just a dab. We're going to get a little bit on the brush, try to mix it up so it's painted. And then we are going to go for, we're going to try to get that tongue dry. And then we are going to cover the tongue in that bright, just barely in that bright red. And I did not get it dry enough, but that's fine, because this is really watery. gonna have to let that dry. But what's gonna happen is you're gonna dry it out. You'll use the very bright red you go on top, because in the bottom of the mouth we want the darker red. But in the middle of the tongue, there's a crevice. You're gonna want the chaotic red, and at the tongue you're gonna want to have the dragon red, the large, the brighter color. All right, that pretty much ends it for this video. The minimal pieces that we did paint. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint all the fingers for the Phoenix outside. Before the next video, and then I will go ahead and tell you guys. I'll finish up maybe the last 2 or 3 with you on camera, and then we'll go ahead and start painting hands as well. And then we also still have to do the base, where the hands here are going to be most likely the same color, if not a little darker than the normal grabbing hands. So thanks for watching. If you liked what you see, go ahead and click like. If you didn't like what you see, go ahead and leave a comment. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave comments as well. Thanks for watching.